they've disclosed certain secrets about time, about what is to occur, but it's all fiction in their eyes, because it's, the liars. Simple as that. The liars. And that's why God doesn't talk to them, because they lie. We're told it's no good beating right around the bush. What you should do is be straightforward and steadfast. Something like that. Quoting from the ground, and it's quite difficult if I'm quoting from the ground for people to know where I'm quoting from exactly. Be around the bush. But there's lights, and people go to sleep when there's the light of God, and they can't stand the light. But they don't rest at night either, because they think of winning all the time. Around the bush. Surah 2, verse 189. They ask you about the phases of the moon. Say, they provide a timing device for the people and determine the time of Hajj. It is not righteous to beat around the bush. Righteousness is attained by upholding the commandments and by being straightforward. You should observe God that you may succeed. What other verse do I quote from? I can lead on from there, and I can talk about Hajj if I wanted to, or talk about how the months in the lunar calendar are calculated and how they should be calculated. Or I could quote another correct verse. Hajj is to be observed in the 4 sacred months, not in the 5 days of Dhul Hijjah, as it is the case right now, where millions converge over a few days to observe Hajj, because this means it is, I don't know why, I don't know, I couldn't give you a reason why. All I know is that the sacred months have been corrupted. The sacred months are the 12th, 1st, 2nd and 3rd month of the Muslim calendar. And that's when Hajj can be performed, anytime in those 4 months. After that, and before that, you can perform the Umrah, which is a lesser pilgrimage. And as for Hajj and Umrah, Hajj, when you can observe Hajj, months, you observe months by calculating the moon using the moon as a calculating device. Now, 600 years before the Prophet was born, they knew how to calculate the lunar calendar perfectly. Now, the schism appears in Islam where they use Habaisless Hadith to say that you can only observe the Ramadan or the Hajj if you physically or invisibly see the new moon. Now, the new moon is under a lot of many different circumstances. There could be cloud, it could be raining, it could be nighttime. And all these tangents mean that it's not possible, really, to calculate the new moon based on when you see it. Just as when you observe the dawn prayer in the morning, it's not observed because you saw the sun rising and you thought you observed dawn prayer. It's observed 2 hours prior to the sunrise, to the daybreak, and so just as in that case, you know that the sunrise will be at a certain time, and to perform your dawn prayer will be before the sunrise. If you were to observe your dawn prayer at sunrise, you'd miss it, because it'd be sunrise by the time you observe your dawn prayer. And so that's the reason why you shouldn't. Now, in the future, at the present moment, we have a lot of scientific technological advances, and which will determine when a new moon appears, when it appears, and when the next day of fasting is, if it's Ramadan, or when Hajj is. Hajj is not supposed to be observed on 4 or 5 days of Dhul Hijjah. It's supposed to be observed in 4 sacred months. And God wishes these and to lighten your burden, and the Prophet Muhammad was sent to lighten the burden, not to burden us with extra corrupt practices. And a lot of the Muslim ways of traditional ways have corrupted the 5 basic pillars of Islam, and they even corrupted the Quran. And if you ask them where did the Quran come from, they'll say the Ashabs wrote it, and they were awestruck by the cult leader and sat with him for 22 years while he was receiving inspiration. Now, how do you regard inspiration from any other person talking? From anyone else talking, and he was supposed to be an illiterate person who couldn't read and write, and he spoke the most eloquent Arabic in the world. How is that possible? And all on top of that, there's countless hadiths which say the Prophet said this and this and this and this and that. How could that be possible? How do you know when it's Quran and when it's hadith? How do you know why the first number 1 verse in the Quran is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, why it's numbered, and why the rest of the Bismillahs are not numbered in the Quran, which start the surahs? Why does Surah 9 not start with a Bismillah? Why are there these unusual letters that start certain surahs?